Hi, we got to our last and fourth business rule engine session where the player is the technical rule developer. Well, the technical rule developer logs into the developing workbench environment where he or she can see the same business rule administration menu as the business rule expert. This is the point of handshake between the two groups, the expert, the business expert, and the technical rule developers. Well, logging into the same menu as we remember we saw before, and logging into a business, for example, we'll take a business rule named check birthday. Now the difference is that this developer, the eMerge developer, can log into the developing workbench using the developing workbench and log into the rule model itself. The rule model itself has a structure of tree, very easy to read, very English-like syntax, and can easily add or change technical rules based on the business expert specification. Let's take, for example, the rule that treats the check birthday. Okay, let's first example of a rule. It says, it's an English-like rule. It says temp age is computed as age, which is a function, birthday, and current date. So we can easily understand that the age is being calculated from the differences of the current date and birthday. Going to the next rule that checks the age that was preliminary calculated, we see that if the age is less than 17, then there is an error message which is computed as 5,000. Now, what the means of 5,000, and also we can see here that there is a wide marking, there is a stage of anomalies. Going back to the menu and going back to the messages, we know that we can see that 5,000, which is a code, will pop out in the XML response the message illegal birth date. We remember that the syntax itself is being specified by the business rule expert. Okay, let's go back. Let's close this rule. Go back to the business rule set, and as we remember, we are going rule by rule, and in each rule the business rule expert specifies the needs of a certain logic to the technical eMerge developer, which writes the rule itself. Let's go and take, for example, in this rule there is a check of the institute, and another rule checks the subject. So sometimes we can find simple rules, and sometimes we can find a little bit more complicated rule model. In that case, for example, that rule that deals with the verification of subject units and subject grade is a bit more complex. Going back to the specification rules, there is another rule here that determines or calculates the final grade and status. We just pop in and look. We see those kinds of rules are kinds of simple unit of work, unit of logic that can be reused along the system wherever there is a need to activate the same logic. And we'll take the last one, which treats the data as it was calculated or finished previously by calculating the final grade and the final status. Now what is done here is packing the information into an XML, and we can see here the syntax easily read: create component matriculation from package certificate using the ID, that means the ID of the person, and sending back final grade, final status, and other information. And here in this stage, in case of anomalies, we pack into the XML all the messages, not the code, the messages that we saw in the messaging metadata table. And the last one is a rule, technical rule, that packs the information and posts it, send it back as a document. Let's see, post message response, meaning we are taking back the XML that we got and we put in data, sending back to the .NET application the document that was preliminary filled in. Now, the only thing we miss now is the handshake between the technical developer of eMerge and the .NET application developer. Meaning, how can we guarantee that really the XML functions correctly in the business rule engine and that it does his work according to the needs? So sometimes working with two kinds of group, one from one side the eMerge developer and from the other side .NET developers, everybody can blame the other for incorrect behavior. So in order to avoid this kind of problem, we have developed, or eMerge has an inside or built-in mechanism of testing the XMLs. We are logging to the CT and we can check easily by popping the matriculation document and testing it in a way that it will react as if the XML has been was received from the outside. So there is the text. Here we can see the XML information inside the environment of the developing workbench, and if we simulate the XML as being entered by sending it through this mechanism, we go and we'll see XML response and view the results. We can guarantee that here we have 85.14. If we go back to the .NET application as I've shown in our second session, the .NET application using has packed an XML document, sending it back to the developing workbench or to the business rule engine. As we can see, the result is 85.14, exactly like it is in the XML tester. Though that guarantees that the moment the business rule engine mechanism is ready and the XML is checked, we can easily move the XML schema to the .NET developer and being sure that everything works correctly. The last thing that I would like to show is the concept model. Everything in the application is based or was developed in the environment of eMerge. So the basic line, or the basic structure of starting the application, or starting developing this mechanism, is by using concept model. And this is the concept model, which is quite simple. That contains, here you can see the metadata tables that we have discussed before, and also a working area where the calculation is being performed but nothing is saved, since it's being performed dynamically in the memory. So I think that's in that stage we have finished showing a full scenario, starting with the candidates working with a .NET application, through the business rule expert using browser, working with the administration menu of the business rule engine, and finishing with the eMerge developer that has to develop the technical rule based on the specification that was supplied by the expert of the business. Thank you so much, and goodbye.